As many of you know, earlier this evening we did have a reception for some band alumni who are here this evening, and some of them will be joining us for our finale number. So at this time, the alumni who will be joining us for highlights of Ragtime, you can start making your way right up these steps, and we'll find a seat for you. And in just a minute, we will give you the highlights of Ragtime. I'm going to give our guests a brief minute to go ahead and get their instruments together and just get comfortable. This is an exciting moment. Some of these are guests that played on the stage many years ago. And I wish to say to all the alumni, as we said earlier, welcome home. And we're glad to see you. Welcome back to your stage. We hope you enjoy this very moment. I have always been I guess a fan of Broadway. So usually at least once during a concert run in a school year, the school band that I'm working with will do a Broadway medley, which is consequently what's happening here with the highlights of Ragtime. And although that's not the musical I'm going to speak of right now, years ago, a person by the name of Stephen Sondheim collaborated with some other writers to create the music for a Broadway score for the show Follies. Follies is a very interesting story. I had the privilege of playing percussion for Follies actually in this auditorium back in the summer of 1997 when they had Summer Music Theater. And it's the story of an old theater house that has gone through the era of the 20s and 30s and 40s through the time of improv to vaudeville to rep and local theater, and they have been given the news that the house would be torn down and soon made into a parking lot for a shopping mall. And consequently, some of the old cast from the rep theater being theater that uses some of the same actors and actresses through the years for their shows, they come back one night for one last time to get together and have a party and rediscover each other. And they come on the stage, and it's the story of how their lives have unfolded, folded again, and then re-unfolded. And it's a fascinating musical, but I mention it tonight to say that people perhaps who were in that house years ago return. They return to say hello to each other. They return to see some of their old directors and playwrights and producers. And that's what happened here tonight. Mr. Carl Lonham is in attendance with us this evening as a former band director here at Haddonfield. And before you arrived, some of your students were coming up to me saying, "Is Mr. Willem coming? Is Mr. Willem coming?" And I said, I think, and I hadn't met Mr. Willem yet. And I said, well, tell me when he comes, tell me when he comes. And sure enough, I didn't have to introduce Mr. Willem. As soon as he came in, people went up to him and what have you. And it was kind of a neat reunion. And as this was all happening, I shared with Mr. Foster, my friend and former neighbor, that I started to think of my old band director, Mr. Meserol. Mr. Meserol was an incredible teacher. He was a very passionate individual. He was as tough as nails. He would make any Marine Corps drill sergeant look weak. I think he called out the jazz band once. He got so mad at us. He got angry with me a couple times too, but I better not share that story tonight. But if there's one thing I look back and I think about Nez, we all loved him because he loved us. And that's what we saw tonight in the reception. Friends coming together as though perhaps they had never even left, and all those years from the past had just fallen away, and we'd strike up old conversations. And in the midst of the slideshow that Mr. DePilla had so brilliantly put together, and all the pictures of the past, we had a chance to reconnect, and I had a chance to meet some people. And it was a pleasure. And now at this moment, we're going to share the stage together. So we give to you highlights.